Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another single song reaction here on the channel. Today, we are going to be listening to the brand new Leprous song, which I believe is called Atonement. Let me look. Atonement. So, if you're unfamiliar with this band, well, I'll get to that in a second. But first, I want to say that I just found out about this band a few years ago when they released their last album. And I was trying to think before I started recording this if I found that album during the year that it came out. I think I did, and I believe that album was on my list of top 12 favorite albums for that year. But I can't remember what number it was. For sure, I believe on 6 or under, because I really like that album a lot. And I think even after that fact, after I discovered the album and added it to my list over the previous few years, I've listened to it even more and grew to enjoy it. But I know that they're quite a bit different of a band now than they were when they first started, but I'm very unfamiliar with this sort of earlier stuff in their career. From what I understand, they were a little bit more complex, more progressive, I think heavier. There was a bit more of like a band sound, like a metal prog band sound, and a little bit more intense to it. I found them because I was getting into a band called Port Noir, and the vocalist for Port Noir is somewhat similar to the vocalist for Leprous. And Port Noir, I believe they have 3 albums out now. Their first album sounds quite different than their second 2, and I think their first album sounds kind of similar to what Leprous was doing at that time, which is, I believe, a couple albums ago. So I know that's kind of all complex stuff that's really neither here nor there, but so if you're unfamiliar with the way Leprous sounds, the reason I fell in love with them on their album Aphelion, which is their most recent album, and I don't know if that's how you pronounce it or not, but I really enjoyed the structuring of the songs, and I liked the length of the songs and the way that the songs had space, and they felt like they were stretched out and had a lot of time to breathe within every song. So the structuring for most of the songs on that album was very similar from song to song, and basically what it would do is each song would start with sort of like a little synth part or some kind of a synth pad or some very sort of minimalistic sounding thing. No drums, and it would just be sort of a repetitive pattern type thing, and then the vocalist would come over and he would sing, and it was all clean vocals. This is I would consider them, I think, to be a metal band, but they are not no harsh vocals at all, so don't expect that here, though if maybe they're doing something different. I don't know. I haven't heard any of this yet. So the vocals come in, and it's a very beautiful voice that this singer has. He very much sings. He sings it's just absolutely incredible. And it's kind of almost hard to explain, but he has a very particular way of singing, a very particular sound. And the first time I heard it, I can't exactly say that I loved it right away, but I grew to like it after hearing a couple of their songs and then realizing what they were going for. I really started to enjoy it. But almost all the songs start quite like that, with some vocals come in, and then during the first chorus, some drums or a couple of other things, maybe some guitars will come in, and it picks up. And then it goes down a little bit in energy for a second verse, and the verses are all very long, the choruses are all very long, and the structuring for most of their songs is verse 1, chorus, verse 2, chorus, and then it's out. And a lot of the times, I don't enjoy songs that are structured that way because I feel like there's something missing. But because this band structures each of these parts so long, and each part of these songs is so lengthy, I feel like every song is its own journey and does itself justice as its own individual song. So after the first chorus, it comes back in with the second verse generally, and we get maybe keeping some drums in, a few added elements that weren't there in the first verse, and then everything kind of explodes and just gets enormous during the last chorus. Maybe there's a bit of a bridge before the chorus where there's a guitar solo or something, and then for the most part, the song just gets big, and then it's done. And I know the way I just described that is a little bit simplistic, but that's the best way I can describe it, and without hearing it, it's hard to explain. So I would just recommend you go back and listen to literally any song off of their album Aphelion. There are a couple that do start differently and are a little bit more of like a band sound, but for the most part, I would say that some of those songs, a majority of the song is just electronic elements happening, and then the metal part, the guitar, drums, bass doesn't kick in until the end of the song when everything's getting very big. And I love both of those sections equally. I like the production. I thought the album was fantastic throughout. The background vocals were fantastic. There were lots of layering of vocal parts. The lead vocals were phenomenal. The singer can sing his butt off. It's absolutely incredible. And so I really loved that. So for those of you who are familiar with Leprous, you probably, their last album, their last couple albums, from what I know just a little bit in looking around and researching them when I first found them, were actually pretty divisive, because I think a lot of fans liked their earlier stuff more, and they didn't like this sort of like poppy or new direction that they were going. And so I'm really curious with this new song if it's going to be a bit more heavy and more prog rock, prog metal, instead of that sort of structuring that I was just explaining. And one of the reasons I think we might have that is because last year the soloist, whose name I believe is Einar Solberg, and I do not know if I'm pronouncing those correctly, but Einar Solberg, he released a solo album. And I did listen to it, and there were parts of it that I enjoyed a lot, but for the most part, the songs were structured so there were really no choruses or repeating parts. And for me, that's a pretty big, important thing in the music that I enjoy. So it felt more like classical music almost than traditional songs structuring. And so I didn't really enjoy that album that much, even though there were really, really, really awesome parts. You know, and if I had to pick like my favorite minute or so of music from across the whole year, there would be a couple of minutes from across that solo album of his that I would maybe nominate as one of my favorite parts to a song that came out last year. But overall, I did not enjoy that album that much. But I'm thinking maybe if he was able to get that more sort of experimental stuff out of him with that album, and then the last two albums, I think, for Leprous, maybe they wanted to try to have more of a band sound here on this new album that's going to be coming out. So I'm just excited to listen to this. These guys are one of my favorite newer bands that I've discovered over the last few years, and I really, really am looking forward to a new album of theirs and being able to experience it when it comes out and just kind of see what's going on. They're on the label Inside Out or Inside Music or Inside. It's either Inside Out or Inside Music, but it's a very famous record label with prog rock and prog metal bands on it. And I've discovered a few bands just from looking at their website and stuff, just from looking up Leprous online. So I just wanted to shout that out. I think it's Inside Out Music. They're a fairly well-known metal record label, and I can't remember exactly, but I think Avatarium was on the record label, and possibly even Oceans of Slumber as well, which are two other bands I discovered around the same time. Sorry, my mouth is dry. So let's not waste any time. Let's just get into this and listen to it and see what we think. Excuse me. We're just going to be listening to this on Spotify. I have the song pulled up. It's 4:49, and so we'll just go ahead and see what this sounds like. I'm going to start it in 3, 2, 1. Okay. Okay, so low synth. Bass type thing. Ooh, cool. Oh. Okay. Very cool effects there on everything that's happening except the drums. You really hear the room in the drums. That's very nice. Oh. Very close mic'd. Sounds amazing. Oh, yes. Ooh. Ooh, that kick drum sounds awesome. Ooh, is that a guitar there? Sounds like a guitar. Ooh, this is awesome. Oh, it's got that repetitive feel of electronic music though, right? The guitars are doing sort of more sporadic things here. These sort of like cleaner guitars that are happening here. Little unconventional in terms of what's going on. Very interesting.
That is all because of you. The final lie, the last and all. Realize that is all because of you.
The drums sound great.
Cannot deny you're standing up. And again, it's all because of you.
Ooh, that's so cool. Oh, so cool. Oh, it's the dynamics. The quiet, the loud, the quiet, the loud. Very, very well done. Oh.
The mutuality was never there.
Guitar being doubled by some kind of like a...
All the critics
Sounds like a xylophone patch or something with like a low pass filter on it. Or a marimba almost.
in your face aspire to be swallowed by the fire that you're
Oh.
the deception has come through, and it's all because of you. The final lie, the last and all.
Oh.
Realized that it's all because of you. Cannot deny you're standing up. And it's true that it's all because of you. Cannot deny.
Woohoo!
I can't deny that it's all because of you.
Yeah!
It's all because of you.
Woohoo! If that is indicative of the whole album, let us go! Oh, that was so good! That might even be my favorite Leprous song. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I want to say I've only heard Aphelion and then their album before that, which I think is called Pitfall or Pitfalls. Those are the only two albums of theirs that I've heard. I own both of them on CD now. Wow, that was so amazing. Oh, that was good. Oh, that was so good. It was mixed so well, in my opinion. My first impression of the mix was that it was just masterful, right? When the drum first came in, you weren't hearing very much kick. If the kick might have not even been playing at all, but you really felt the room that they recorded it in. Now, whether that was because they recorded the sounds of the room with it, and they had some room microphones, in there with it when they recorded the drums, or if they added that digitally. I mean, you can do basically after the fact, you can add any sort of a room sound to things nowadays. It's super, super simple to do with different reverbs and things. And then a lot of drum programs have their own sort of rooms built into them, and you can modify the sounds of those and everything. But man, and then when the big drums kicked in, it really felt massive and weighty and heavy. And because they play like that, like the way this song was, very plodding, right? Like it felt a little bit like, okay. With their songs of theirs that I've heard that I really enjoy, it feels like it's very low energy and then it becomes very high energy without the song ever becoming like aggressive or fast, right? It's just that all of a sudden you're being attacked with sound, but it's not necessarily fast or or chaotic sound. It's in this case it was just the brrr, like right there, just guitars are just holding out a chord there at the beginning of that chorus, and then the vocals get wider because they're adding doubles and harmony parts on the sides, and then he does the because it's all because of you, and then the guitars go to their stabs at right, and then it's that thing in the middle, which is just awesome. That almost sounded like some sort of a synth thing, or like a dubstep, a part that would be in like a dubstep song or something like that, which is the other genre of music that has like half-tempo grooves like that also feel very heavy but are also very minimalistic. So I really, really enjoyed the feeling of that. All the like low frequency swooshing and things that were happening at the beginning was very cool. I didn't notice lots of strings or anything like that in this song, which I do. There was a lot of string instruments, whether they were synthetic or not, which I don't mind if they're synthetic or not. And sometimes I prefer synthetic sounding strings, even depending on what the purpose of them in the song is. But on Aphelion, there were a lot of stringed elements to that, and so I absolutely loved that. I absolutely adored that song. I thought that was incredible. So let's go. I cannot wait for this album. I will be doing an entire reaction to the entire album when it comes out. Hopefully I can get one of my buddies to do it with me. And we're going to have a great time because that album is just going to hit hard, I think. We're talking possibly #1 of the year. If every song on that album is as good as that one, and there's 8 other songs at least, maybe 10 other songs, we're talking album of the year potential there. So yes, let us go. So excited. For those of you who are fans of this band, let me know if I'm really missing out by not listening to the early part of their career. I did listen to some samples of their earlier stuff, and what I was hearing just wasn't speaking to me that much, especially because I like the quietness and the dynamic range and the difference in the dynamics in their most recent 2 albums specifically. And then this song as well. But let me know. Let me know what your favorite older albums are. Albums older than Pitfall. And let me know if you think I would like that too. So yes, very excited for this. Can't wait. And I'm looking forward to their whole album. But until then, stay tuned to the channel, and I will see you next time.